Good morning, Year 9. Hope everyone's doing well at home. I want to first start by thanking those of you who have been working really diligently the last week and uploading all your work and really having a positive attitude despite the way we have changed the way we are learning right now. So I want to encourage you to keep up the good work. And if you need any help, if you have any questions, you can leave a comment on Google Classroom or you can send me an email. Just a few quick announcements before we get started. The first is the assignment is due on Friday. We have already had a lesson last Friday to catch up on this. And so please be vigilant in completing this before the due date. You can email me or leave a comment on Google Classroom if you need some help. The next is you need to make sure that all your class notes are uploaded on Google Classroom on the day that we have our lesson. And also remember that you need to be working on maths during our normal timetable period. Next, homework needs to be completed. You need to mark it using a red pen and make any corrections. You need to upload this also on Google Classroom by the due date. And lastly, we will be having our first online live lesson on Adobe Connect this Wednesday, period 4. So make sure you are logged in and connected at 11:50 a.m. on Wednesday. All right, let's get into today's lesson. We'll be starting a new topic today on algebraic techniques. And we'll start off by doing a quick review of the basic terminologies and algebra facts. Okay, so let's write down the heading for today, algebra review, and today's date. We'll start off with the word prenumeral. Now, the prenumeral is a letter that can represent one or more numbers. And we have already seen these in our measurement topic where we had letters that represented certain numbers. Now, the following facts and definitions we have already been discussing and talking about in class, but it is always good to go over it again. Firstly, if we have a prenumeral by itself, so in this case A, it means we have one of that prenumeral, 1A. Now, from our indices topic, we know what happens when we square a number. We're multiplying that by itself. So if it's A squared, it means A times A. Okay. And when we have two prenumerals or numbers and prenumerals stuck together, so I can even put a 2 at the front, that's a shorthand of saying 2 times A times B. Another example is if we have, let's say, 13AM, okay, that means 13 times A times M. And remember, when we have a fraction, it just means we are dividing the top by the bottom, so A divided by B. And you can even put all of these rules together and see what this means. AB over, let's say, M squared. AB at the top is shorthand for A times B. And we're dividing all of that by M squared, which is M times M. Now, the next word we need to know is the word term. And a term is just a group of numbers and prenumerals connected by multiplication or division. So in our example above, 13AM is 13 times A times M. So 13A and M are connected by a times sign. So we can say 13AM is a term. Also here, AB over M squared, AB and M squared are all connected by times or division. And so AB over M squared is another term. And at the bottom, I have written down some other examples. So 9A is 9 times A, that's another term. 10CD is 10 times C times D, that's another term. And 3x over 5 as well. Now, when we connect all of these terms by addition or subtraction, we call that collection an expression. So, for example, I might have an expression, 3a plus 5b minus 7. And here I can say I have an expression with 3 terms connected by an addition and a subtraction. The next word we need to know is the word constant term, and that is just a term in our expression that has no prenumerals attached to it. So -7 here would be the constant term of this expression. The next word is the coefficient, and coefficient is just a number in front of a prenumeral. So in this case, the coefficient of A would be 3. The coefficient of B would be 5. Let's have a look at an example where we identify these. So for the first example here, we have an expression 3a plus 4ab plus 5b squared plus 10. Let's first identify the number of terms. So remember, terms are just groups of numbers and prenumerals connected by times or division. And here we're told that they are separated by plus or minus. So we can just look out for the pluses or the minuses in our expression and see how many terms are separated by those. So in this case, we have 1, 2, 3, 4 terms. So 4 here. The next question is, what is the constant term? Remember, the constant term is a term with no prenumerals. So in this expression, only 10 is a number by itself. So a constant term is 10. What's the coefficient of A? So remember, coefficient is the number in front of a prenumeral. A prenumeral is A in this case. So the number in front of A here is 3. So the coefficient of A is 3. The coefficient of AB, okay, is 4. And the coefficient of B squared is 5. Let's do a similar question. So in this case, we have an expression 4a plus b minus 12c plus 5. We want to first identify the number of terms. Remember, I said we need to look out for the additions and the subtraction because those separate our terms. So we have 1, 2, 3 addition or subtractions, all right, and they separate 1, 2, 3, 4 terms. And so we have 4 terms in our expression again. Okay, the next question is, what's the constant term? Remember, that's the number without the prenumeral. And so that's the 5. The coefficient of B, okay, is the number in front of B. Now, in this case, we don't have a number in front of the B, which just meant we had 1 of B. Okay, and so the coefficient would be 1. Now, the coefficient of C, in this case, 12 is attached to C, but you need to also remember the sign in front of a number belongs to that number. So we have a negative in front of 12, and so this is a negative 12. So the number in front of C is negative 12. Okay. Now the last thing we need to look at is knowing how to translate an expression from a description in words. So we need to know the different words that are used to describe certain operation with prenumerals and numbers. So I've written down a few common synonyms used for these operations, okay, but these aren't exhaustive. Okay, so let's have a look at our first example. We want to write an expression for the product of M and 7. Okay, so in our table here, the product, okay, is referring to multiplication. And so the product of M and 7 is just M times 7. But remember, we can put these numbers and letters together without the times sign. Okay, and normally we put the number at the front, and so we would write 7m instead. Next, 3 less than k, okay, just means k minus 3, not 3 minus k, because for example, if I talk about 3 people less than 10, that's 7 people. Okay, C is the sum of 5 and the product of x and y. So we have a sum. Okay, and a sum according to our table here. Okay, I think I've taken that out, so we can add that here. A sum means an addition of two or more numbers. So the two things here we're finding the sum of is 5 and the product of x and y. So let's write that down. 5 plus the product of x and y. Remember, the product is multiplication. So 5 plus x times y. And remember, we can write down terms without the multiplication sign. So we can write these as 5 plus xy. The next is 5 is added to 1/2 of k. Okay, so we have 1/2 of k and we're adding 5 to it. And here, half just means divided by 2. And so 1/2 of k is k divided by 2. And then we're adding 5 to that. And that's our expression here. And the last one is the sum of a and b is then doubled. All right, so we've got to first do the sum of a and b. The sum is an addition. So we do a plus b first. And then we are doubling this whole number. And so when we are doubling, we are multiplying the number by 2. And so that's that times 2. All right, so now I would like you to take a photo of your notes and then upload it onto Google Classroom for me to check. And then I would like you to try these type of questions on your own in the exercises that I've uploaded on Google Classroom. Okay, now I need you to write all the questions into your books, so it's easier for you to look back on when you're revising for your tests. And also I would like you to, after you have attempted all your questions, check your answers using a red pen and correct your work. And then I would like you to upload photos of the completed homework as well on Google Classroom by Wednesday. So class notes are due today, homework is due on Wednesday. Thanks for tuning in, E9. If you have any questions, please leave your question on Google Classroom or send me an email. And if it's necessary, we can arrange some FaceTime sessions on Adobe Connect with a few of you and go through some work that you are unsure of. Have a great rest of the day, E9. Stay safe and stay healthy. I'll see you next lesson.